see Broadway's brightest live. Rye spends Thursday nights drunk in a dive. They're friends with Rye, and he's a Broadway guy. He's your Broadway and entertainment BFF. It's Live with Rye and Friends on Broadway. He's a bundle of joy and happiness. He loves being here for you. He's a theater nerd who will share a word with a Broadway star or two. Our guests will have you on the floor like Orfeh, Benanti, and many more. Rye Myers, the gay Ryan Seacrest, your Broadway and entertainment BFF. It's Live with Rye and Friends on Broadway. On Broadway. On Broadway.
Back to another week of Live with Rye and Friends on Broadway, the only Broadway talk show here in New York City. I'm Rye Myers, your Broadway and Entertainment BFF. Hello to our friends at home watching as well. Wow, it's so exciting to see everyone. We've got such a great audience and a great show for you all today. This is a lot of yours first time, so welcome. The song that you just heard was my theme song, and I have to give credit where credit is due. It was written by Jay Brancato, composed by Jeffrey Schmelkin, and sung by the incredibly talented and fabulous Alyssa Ray from American Idol Season 20 Top 9. So fabulous to them. And a fun announcement, I actually now have a podcast. I got on the podcast train. For those of you that may know, I did this show virtually starting in 2020. It was called Live with Rye. Interviewed all these people in the entertainment and Broadway world and did it, virtually. And everybody would always call it a podcast, and it was not a podcast, it was a virtual talk show. Now I've put them all in podcast fashion. So if you like podcasts, every Thursday I release a new episode, but they're all on my YouTube channel. But if you enjoy podcasts, every Thursday I release a new one, and I'll be talking with new people on the podcast coming up. So stay tuned for that. But I'm now on the podcast game. It's only taken me 2 years, but it's Live with Rye, the podcast. So check it out. It drops every Thursday. Is that so? And now at this time, I do some Broadway news and talk about some of the exciting things that are happening in the industry. It's been a big week. So first and foremost, I don't know if you heard, but Into the Woods is extending with the current cast, which is so exciting, until September 4th at the St. James Theater. The current cast includes Sarah Bareilles, Brian Darcy James, Philippa Sue, Gavin Creel, Joshua Henry, Patina Miller, and so many others. So that's really exciting. Has anyone seen Into the Woods yet? No? You saw it?
It's really good.
Yeah, wasn't it? It was incredible. I've seen it twice. I saw it. A friend of mine got tickets last week when Gavin Creel was, when Cheyenne Jackson was in for Gavin Creel, and then I saw it prior. It's very good. Get tickets if you can. They do have a digital lottery. I think it's like $50, but you can play the digital lottery. I highly recommend it. It's selling out night after night. It's nice to see that show getting all of the love that it deserves, and the production is incredible. It's right from City Center. So. And the cast album is on the way. There's been really no announcement yet as to when, but there is a cast album in the works. Some fun celebrity sightings. I don't know if you all saw this, but MJ, the Michael Jackson musical, is huge. It's one of the more popular shows this season. Very hard to get tickets to. Every night is sold out. The tickets are going at like premium prices. So that means a lot of people are going to see it. And last weekend, they had a doubleheader of two fabulous stars there. Lindsay Lohan and Madonna were at last Saturday night's show and made the People magazine. And it's funny, I was getting done work and I happened to look across the street and I saw these two big black Cadillacs. And I saw people standing outside and I saw photographers and I was like, who is that? I don't know. And I happened to Lindsay, I didn't see because she had already got in the car, but I saw a blonde woman and everybody was like, woo, cheering. And I thought, I'm like, is it a reality star? I'm like, I don't know who it is. I'm like, I'll figure it out. So that was her mother, Tina. She went with her mother, I guess her boyfriend, her brother. So Lindsay Lohan was there, and then Madonna was also there, but I didn't see her. But she went backstage, and it was very emotional. And so that was really cool to see, and nice that Lindsay Lohan is out seeing theater. I love that, and yeah. And then I don't know if you all heard this, but this is shocking, but not surprising because it is copyright. But Barlow and Bear, I'm sure you've heard of them. They're two fabulous individuals who rose to fame during the pandemic, created two female composers, but they're being sued by Netflix for blatant infringement of intellectual property rights for the unofficial Bridgerton musical. So I don't know if you all know, but during one of the many things that came during the pandemic was obviously there was Ratatouille the musical, and one of the other ones was Bridgerton the musical, which Barlow and Bear wrote. And from what I understand, I'm not really on the TikTok game as much as I should. They did it on TikTok. They released the cast album, and Netflix was fine with that. There really wasn't any monetary benefit from it, but it got really popular. They apparently had to do with Bridgerton. It had to do the characters. I don't watch Bridgerton, but it won a Grammy Award for the album, so it was a big deal. But what ended up happening was Netflix was fine with it, how it took off, but Netflix objected when it learned that they were staging for-profit shows that went against infringement on the Bridgerton brand. So 2 weeks ago, they did the unofficial Bridgerton musical at Kennedy Center. And big stars take part. Tickets were going for as much as like $139. And that's when Netflix stepped in because they had other things planned. So this is, I guess, a lesson to those out there that, it's interesting. I was reading because they do have the, if you're interested in entertainment law, they do have the thing that the lawyer followed, I guess the lawsuit out online that you can read that alleges like why Netflix is suing them and sort of showing the proof. But it's interesting when fandom sort of stretches past fandom. This was having the fact that it was blatant, like they took word for word from the series. And so very fascinating. It's a shame that it happened, but even when the news first came out, it was clearly infringement. So hopefully it works out. They haven't made any comment, Barlow and Bear, but obviously they're ceasing production on that. But that's why I always say to people, just be careful when you are creating stuff that is already out there. Fandom is fine, but when you create things verbatim, and then especially once there's monetary stuff involved, if the brand doesn't approve of it, you have some trouble. So, and finally, April 25th of 2023, we are getting Chita Rivera's long-awaited memoir. It's going to be called Cheetah, a Memoir. How original. And it will be released then. They released the album work for it this week. So the front cover for it this week. So it should be really good. And with that, now help me welcome my very special guest. I am so excited he's here. I've known him for a few months now, and I just got to see the show that he composed and created called Love's Quirks off Broadway last week. He's going to be here to talk about it. Please help me welcome my incredible guest, Seth Bison-Hersh.
Thank you, Rye. Great to be here.
Oh, great to have you. Hi, Seth.
How's it going?
It's going great, even better now that you're here.
Shucks.
Well, thank you for joining me.
It's my pleasure. It's just a lovely place here under the subway.
Isn't it great? It's true New York style. The subway above you. You've got the Broadway shop here. It's very chic, very interesting. So, how did you get your start in composing and piano, playing piano?
Yeah, I've been playing piano since I was about 3. My grandparents got me a little keyboard, and I would always plunk away on it. And then I started official lessons, I'd say maybe around 8. Songwriting was because it was my mom's birthday. I think I was 13, and I wrote her this song, I Love My Mom. That was my first song, and she really liked it. And then I had this epiphany that if you write songs for people for their birthday, you don't have to buy them gifts. And so I started just doing that, and I still do it to this day. Like if someone's getting married, and I'm like, you want a wedding jingle? That's like the $250 retail value. And then I'll do that, and then I'll just go to the wedding, I'll have the food. Yeah, it's great.
I love that. Well,
it's the truth.
What a great way to get
Origin
started.
story, yes.
And I love that. I mean, do you have a lot of people take you up on that offer?
No. Every so often, someone will be like, okay, fine, we'll have a jingle. I think I wrote 2.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
That's pretty cool though. Well, if you're looking for a jingle instead of presents, you can become friends with Seth.
Yes, well, you could also hire me too.
Well,
Yeah,
yes,
one of my
hire
best
too.
friends is a wedding planner, and that's one of those services they offer. Is that I actually also write puzzles. I did wedding puzzles because I started doing writing puzzle puzzles in the last 2 years. That's my new hobby turn. I can't have a hobby all of a sudden and turn into a side hustle. Like I can't just do something without financial incentive.
Well, same here. But I mean, we're going to get this later, but talking about side hustles, you have multiple side hustles. You're multi-hyphenate, from cabaret producing to songwriting to coaching to collecting all this stuff. You are go. You have 2 memoirs out. You've written 3 musicals?
I've written 3 books and 8 musicals, but only one of them has made it off Broadway. It was a lot of work.
Yeah, I'm sure, but you have.
I did have a kid musical that is based on a property, and we did actually. We're not able to license it because of the rights. Because I won't say what company commissioned us, but they didn't pay the rights to the publishers. And so when I tried to be like, can we license the show? They were like, no, we're still all money by blah, 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 blah. And so that was the lesson I learned in 2010. Never write a musical based on a property that already exists. Yes. Unless it's a parody. There's a very clear parody law. I checked with my lawyer.
Okay.
If you are doing a parody and you call it a parody, there's nothing they can do. So the problem is they were taking it too truthfully. If they had said it's a parody, then it would have been okay, but then they couldn't have quoted anything verbatim.
Maybe that's what Barlow and Bear should have done.
Yes, they did not consult with me.
No.
That's the advice I would have told them. If they're watching, give me a call.
Yeah, right. He knows it. I was looking at your website these last few days. Truly everything that you do. I could not believe. We talk about multi-hyphenate. You have done it all and then some. And we'll get to more of it later.
I'm easily bored, I'm always like, what can I do next? Because I've already accomplished. Once I check it off, I want to move on to have another hyphenate instead of doing the same thing over and over and over. But thank you for going to the website. I'm pretty sure it's just my father goes every day. If I ever have a typo or anything, I get a text very fast. Like, there's a typo on your website, just so you know.
Well, and for those watching at home, the website should be up on the screen.
It's very possible he's watching right now. Thank you for watching that.
And critiquing his website.
Yes, I appreciate it. SethBH.com. That's the jingle for the website.
I love that. Well, and it's up on for those watching at home. So let's talk about Love Quarks, which is your current show, your current musical, which is off Broadway. So awesome! I highly recommend this show. So it's a musical fable based on actual events, as a group of 30-somethings explore the bizarre tribulations of love, friendships, and the blurred lines in between. It is so good. I saw it last week. It's here until September, right?
September 3rd. Yeah, Saturday, September 3rd at 3 p.m. is our final show.
And what was great is I just feel like anyone can relate to it. Gay, straight, male, female, or not, whatever you identify as. It's truly everything I feel like that we go through as human beings in dealing with love. And so I love it. And, it was open a bit before the pandemic, right? You were supposed to.
Yeah, well, it's been 12 years since we started the project.
Oh my gosh.
But in 2020, we finally realized our dreams of being off Broadway after a decade. And we had to shut down 3 days before opening night. I still have nightmares about it. Before we opened this time, every night I was having a stress dream that we weren't going to make it. Spoiler alert, we opened. And then I slept a lot better once we got past that. But it was terrible. Yeah, it was like all of a sudden for the weekend, one by one, people were like, I can't come. My father and my uncle were like, we're still coming. And then they were like, we're not coming. And then it was like, you can't come because now we're definitely closed for 4 to 6 weeks.
And then that turned into
years.
And prior, it was at the St. Luke's Theater right then, and now it's at AMT, right?
Yeah, St. Luke's is under new management. They're now called Playhouse 46.
Okay.
They have reconfigured to be in the round.
Oh, interesting.
So that's another thing the pandemic took from us. We were like, okay, we don't have a theater. So we're really fortunate to be at the new AMT Theater, which just opened.
Yeah, it's brand new.
And the construction is almost done. Very close. And we are the first show. We got to inaugurate their theater, and we're running in rep with An Unbalanced Mind, which is a show that Al Tapper, who the theater is named for.
Okay.
It's his theater, and so it's his show. We're running in rep.
And what does AMT stand for?
It stands for Al and Tapper.
Oh, Al and Tapper.
Yes.
Wow.
I get asked this question a lot. I don't know what the M stands for.
Okay.
My guess is Michael, but I could be wrong.
It's a great theater, and the space is awesome. It's right next to Schmackery's for those who.
They are one of our sponsors.
Yes. So check it out. And the theater's beautiful, and what was so interesting too is you said you're running and repping other shows, and so what I learned is that when they finish their show, they do 4 performances a week, right? They gotta strip the stage, and then the next show, and then the next show comes in, and then that happens again and again. That was crazy. I didn't know that. So where did the idea come from, though? Tell us the backstory.
Boy, I could ask this question a lot unsurprisingly, or whichever. I suck at sarcasm. Whichever one of those is sarcastic. So I started the show. A lot of the songs were based on my life and are from my cabaret acts. So I had done, I believe, 7 cabaret acts at the time, and Then She Dumped Me, which is an evening of sorrow, of people who dumped me. I sang the song, I wrote them, and then in my Then She Dumped Me because she's a whore, and then I sang the breakup song. Then The Gayest Straight Man Alive, actually no songs from that are in this. Then Meaningful Sex, The Neurotic Tendencies, Why Am I Not Famous Yet, which is still a question I ask every day. Writer's Block, a cabaret that was hard to write, and I'll Relax When I'm Dead. And so I had about 300 cabaret songs, and in 2010 there was a couple song cycles that were very popular, and I was like, song cycle, that's cheating because there's no talking. I could write a song cycle, I don't have to write one, I already have 300 songs. So I have been doing these charity concerts, which is how you get Broadway stars to sing your songs for free. We did one for the Humane Society called Broadway Makers because they saved my cat Snee's life in 2009, and I put that on, and then we did one Broadway Can, which was a canvas of River City Harvest, so I did those for 10 years, and then I thought I've done 20 of these and done. But I noticed that all the stars were gravitating towards the same quirky love songs. And I was like, well, these are clearly my most popular songs. I should just make a song cycle and call it Quirky Love Songs. And I was talking to my friend Aviva on the phone, and I was like, or I'll just call it Love Quirks. And she's like, that's great, I like that. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to do that. And then I wrote the catchy opening number, Love Quirks, which is, of course, no longer the opening number, the title song. That's what I should call it. Let's rewind. This is live. I can't do that. Like, edit point. So you see when I do my podcast, I'm like, edit point, let's redo it. The title song, and then I actually wrote the song Haven't You Noticed for that, because I decided it would be a 4-character song cycle, and I mapped out kind of the arcs for the 2 women, and I was like, one of them is clearly in love with this gay man, because I have a lot of musical theater friends who are in love with their gay best friends, and so I was like, Haven't You Noticed is actually a song I wrote based on a scene on the show United States of Tara, starring Toni Collette. And in the scene, Zasha Mamet plays the girlfriend of her son, and he's coming out to her, and he's like, I just want you to know I'm gay, and it finally got there. And she's like, that's great, you can be my starter boyfriend, we can still have sex together, but it won't mean anything. And she just was in such deep denial. And I was like, this is a song, and that became the duet for them. And I already had a duet for the straight couple. And so I did the one-night concert on September 24th, 2010, with 20 people, which is how you get an audience, because they each bring 2. This is the key to cabaret producing. And then after that, Brian Childers, the director of Love Quirks, was in the show singing a song that got cut that didn't fit, according to Brian, or whatever. And so he's like, this is not a song cycle, this is a musical. So we did a 4-person version, and he was like, take out this song, write me a new song. I actually wrote It's Not You, It's Me, and then that song got cut. And then it's just been a long journey. People saw that version, which we did in the basement of a gallery in Soho, which is the only time a gallery in Soho is like, we have a space, you want to do a show? The answer is always yes. I will always do a show. For free. They gave me the space for free, which is better. Which is with the tape. And so then everyone after that was like, I want to know more about these people. So Brian brought in his brother Mark, who's a screenwriter and a playwright, and was like, Mark, I think you would understand the show. And Mark, somehow, if you listen to the podcast episode that Mark was on, it was just on Time Hop on Facebook, he came on and he got a whiteboard and he took the songs, and I had kind of mapped out an arc for them, but he was like, he just got the characters right away and was like, I understand what these characters are and what their obstacles are, and it's a miracle what he did. I don't know how. He's a fucking genius. Can I say fucking?
Yes.
He's a fucking genius, and a genius at fucking. Just kidding. and he mapped the whole thing and created the show in like a month. And then we did a reading in 2011, and then we were going to move it to off-Broadway, but then that fell through. And it basically, yada, 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 every theater we ever put the show on has closed. And eventually we finally got to the point where we did a reading and got the show on draft 27, although now it's draft, that was what, 26, now we're in draft 28. I'm very obsessed with numbers. And so, yeah, it took 28 drafts to get to the one you saw, but we were constantly adding things to it. And originally they were in their 20s, but by the time we put it on, all the actors had aged.
Right.
So we moved it to the 30s, and thankfully we didn't move to the 40s just yet, closing in on it. And we just kind of pulled from their lives, our friends' lives. And that's why you find it authentic and relate to it. Because it's all based on truth in the songs. All the songs that are emotional on the show are mostly my emotions pouring out of me at various parts of my life. And the comedy numbers are a lot of rants that I've heard from friends over the years that I have musicalized. And then when Mark came on, then there was like maybe 6 more songs that we cut some and put in ones that are really book songs that actually forward the plot of the show, which is how you're really supposed to write music.
Well, they're all great. They're great songs. It's a great show, and what an incredible process. I mean, it's really awesome. And again, I can't say enough. Make sure you all go see it. On that topic of you creating everything, this is interesting. As of 2022, you've produced over 670 showcases, featuring over 3,500 singers. So craziness.
Yeah, we're hitting 700 this fall, probably October.
Oh my God!
So I'll probably do some tops to my songs with some of the showcase people again.
I love
and for the 500th, I did this all-day thing. I did 4 concerts of my work in a row at 1, 3:30, 6, and 8:30. Yeah. And I had 68 singers doing 100 of my songs, and it killed me. And I was like, never again. But now that I'm hitting 700, I'm like, I'm just going to do maybe 2 concerts, and they're not going to be the same day. And it's okay if everyone wants to do the popular songs. It's fine. But for that one, I made it so it was only, we did 100 songs. There were no repeats for the day.
That's great. Yeah, that's very smart. Very smart.
And then we had cheesecake.
I love it. Well, we're going to now do a question for trivia, which is exciting. So for those who are new, every week I do a trivia segment here on the show for those who are here in person, because you have to come in person to get the awesome prizes.
No, why didn't you come in person?
So this week our sponsor is Situation Interactive. Thank you to Situation. Let's give a round of applause for Situation Interactive. They're a very large, one of the biggest marketing firms out there for Broadway. So how this is going to work is I'm going to read a question. The person that gets it right is going to get a prize. I have quite a few things in here. Let's start with a pair of Dear Evan Hansen gloves, which were never for sale. They were for the cast and crew only, so they are unique to this only. I know it's not winter yet, but winter will be here before we know it. So
winter's on the wing.
Yes. So, alrighty. Here's the first question: what Tony Award-winning actress was recently announced as the new Audrey in Little Shop of Horrors starting in September?
Lena Hall.
Lena Hall, yes, congrats, Nora.
Lena Hall was in the first Broadway Camp concert.
Really?
2009.
Wow, that's amazing.
Wonderful person.
I love that. All right, well, let's do one more, and this is let's do the MJ official opening night poster with
that
the
was
official.
A great show.
Yeah, I've seen it twice. I can't wait to see it again. So this is a good one. So this is finish the sentence. Okay. So finish the sentence. I'm always tapping on the glass. Blank. What is that? Finish the lyric. It's from a popular.
Waving through the window.
Waving through the window. Yes. Congratulations. Here you go, Michael. You get the official MJ opening night. We have a few more things which we'll do later in the show, but congrats to the winners so far. We've got Dear Evan Hansen hats, we've got Lights of Broadway, and thank you to Situation Interactive for providing it. So why don't we actually hear something from Love Works? You're going to be accompanied. We have one of the cast members here.
Yes, we have Matthew Shots here. Matthew Shots.
I love it.
I've learned it's pronounced Shots.
Shots.
I used to say Shots, but it's Shots.
That's Shots, gotcha,
yes.
Perfect. I thought that's how it was said too, so lovely. Shots, and what to tell us what is the song that he's performing?
This is the second song in the show. So basically, the show's about four people who end up living together, and Ryan, not you Ryan, the character, moves in with Jerry for after 2 weeks, and then after 2 weeks he freaks out and moves back in. But at the start of the show, he has sublet his room to Chris, who recently his best friend from college stopped him from getting married by sleeping with his fiance. So that's the joke, bum. And so basically, he needs a quick place to stay. So when he calls Ryan to vent about Allison, Ryan's like, "You can have my room." But then it turns out that he's rooming with Steph and Lily, and they kind of remember him from college, and he was probably a jerk in college. It's very ambiguous. We never fill in the pieces. But as with a lot of people in college, he was probably less mature. And so he comes in, and she's like, "Oh, fuck no. What the hell are you doing here? Get out of my apartment." So he basically, the song is called Let's Just Be Friends, and he just is trying to give a little bit of an olive branch.
Amazing. Well, let's hear it. And Matthew, come on up. I'm so excited to welcome Matthew. Let's give Matthew a round of applause, everyone, where you are. Okay. So a round of applause for Seth and Matthew, everyone, for lovely work.
I brought you coffee and a croissant. I think it's pretty clear what I want. Let's just be friends. Is that such a crazy thing to be? You'll see I've changed. Still you view me as a vapid jock. That is such a crock. It might be a shock. But given the choice, I read Faulkner, Fitzgerald, and Joyce. I love films with subtitles, Wagner recitals, tangoing days at the Met. You won't be upset if we just be friends. Let's just be friends. The last thing I need right now is this. If signals mix, please just dismiss. If I have no shirt, I don't mean to flirt. Friendship couldn't hurt. Relationships below, convoluted, annoying, hello. Those romantic notions, saccharine emotions, talking about how you feel. There's much more appeal if we just be friends. If I was into you, I'd take you out to dine. A fine dinner with expensive wine. I'd tell you how beautiful you look. Lend you my favorite book. But I'm not into you, so you're off the hook. So let's just be friends. I'm having a rough patch, you see. My fiance cheated on me. It was not a fling, not a one-time thing. She still has the ring. I had to move out, and now my whole future's in doubt. If you wouldn't mind here, please just be kind here. I must confess now, I'm just a mess now, and as I've spoken, I am too heartbroken to start anything now. So trust me, we must be, let's just be friends. Somehow.
Thank you very much. Thank you guys. So, Matthew, before you sit down, how are you enjoying being in Love Works?
Do I have something to talk to? Might be heard.
Yes, yes,
yes.
Oh,
There we go.
Seth, you come back in 1 second.
Sure. So I have been with the show for several years through several of the readings that Seth has mentioned. It's on? We good? Yeah?
Yes.
Sorry. It's so much different than the previous microphone. That I just have this thing.
No, you're good.
Yeah, so I've been with the show for several years through several different readings. Seth can probably correct me, but I think I've been in 4 or 5 of them. And so when we finally got to do the show off Broadway, it was very exciting. It's always exciting to see something you've worked on for so long actually go somewhere. So much more exciting for Seth, who's been there since the conception of it, obviously. And then as the pandemic shut everything down, we had all of the emotions that you would expect. And so now that it's actually open at a brand new theater in Midtown, it is very, very exciting.
It must be. And finally, what does this show mean to you? I mean, aside from, you know, it reopening and stuff like that, but what does it mean to you? I mean, we are humans. We all have sort of our own love quirks that we go through. So has it helped you at all in any way with maybe stuff that you've dealt with in the past or deal with currently? What has the show done for you?
Well, I am very happily married now.
Oh, amazing.
And got married during the pandemic.
Congratulations.
So thank you very much.
Round of applause for getting married.
Between the time the show was supposed to open the first time and the show actually opening, I got married. So it meant something very different beforehand than it means now. And now it is a lot of, and this is similar for I think several of the cast members, though I don't want to speak for anybody else, but I think they pretty much agree. There's a lot of catharsis in the show. The 4 actors in the show, and myself included, are all very happy in our current relationships. And of course the show is about not that, otherwise there wouldn't be a show of just 4 people talking about how much they love their significant others.
Yeah.
So it means a lot to be able to reflect on some of those things, to reflect on your past relationships is something that I like to remind people is every single relationship you ever have in your whole life ends until the one that doesn't, if you are lucky enough to have that one. So we all have things to learn. We all have people in our past that define who we are, and this show is really an exploration of that. Although when you're sitting in the audience, you're watching the characters go through that in real time, not reflecting on it.
I agree. Well, Matthew, thank you so much for
your
incredible performance, for talking to us about that. Round of applause again for Matthew. Thank you, Matthew. Woo!
For the record, Matthew was in 2 readings in 2015 and 2019, but in between those 2 readings, he did 2 readings on my other show, The Diamond Was Big as the Ritz.
Oh, yes.
Based on the F. Scott Fitzgerald short story. That's why he feels like he's done 4 readings.
Yeah, I love it. Well,
I also got married during the pandemic as well.
Oh.
And the show about
Congratulations.
loving your wife is actually called I Love My Wife. It's by Cy Coleman and Michael Stewart.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, have you seen that show?
No, I haven't.
It's from the 70s. It's about 2 couples that decide they want to swing, but they can't go through with it. And then the moral is, I love my wife too much to have sex with my husband. A cute little show. Really great sport by Cy Coleman.
I love it. I will have
There's
to.
some trivia for you.
I love it. I'll have to watch that.
I love my wife so much like sex with my friend's life.
Yeah, that's the moral of the show.
Right.
Yeah, there's also there's some pot smoking in it. It's very 70s.
Very
But
70s.
great score, Cy Coleman.
I mean, a lot of foreshadowing for what's happening today. So it seems, you know, there's a lot of pop smoking happening today. So finally, on the topic of love quirks, where did you find the cast for Matt, you have
Lauren and Aaron.
Lauren and Aaron. So where did you find them?
So over the course of the years, there's been a lot of people who've been in the cast. Lauren joined the show in 2014. We did a reading at the Electric Theater that is now Smash Burger. And she was replacing Crystal, who we have a character named Crystal based on Crystal, because she moved to California since the 2011. She was actually also in my kids' show, Standing Party. So anyway, Brian did a reading with Lauren, but Lauren had done my showcases when she was 20 and had braces, and Brian was like, she'd be great for this show, and I was like, okay, but no, I knew it was true. So she came in and auditioned. So she's been with the show since 2014, that reading, and then Matt came in 2015 when that was our first equity reading. After our 3-week non-equity round in 2014, I ended up with my intern deciding he wanted to be a producer, but then because it was too hard. But he did 1 reading with us, and every industry person he invited did not show up. But my friend Christy Altamere came, and now she's very famous. So, hi Christy, she's no legend. So anyway, back to
You can say I knew her.
Yes, I've known her a while, but Matt was cast through, I believe it was a breakdown with his agents, maybe him, and then in 2019, I asked my friend Celia, I was like, we want to go a different direction for Ryan because Brian Shaw, he's aged out. He said it on Facebook when he came to you. So I was like, I really wanted him to use this role with someone really funny. And Celia was like, I just did this great show, Paradise Square, in Berkeley Red, and I'm still not getting paid for it. But she brought in Erin, actually. She met Erin during Paradise Square. That's where Erin came from. And then Maggie was, in 2020, my co-producer at the time, Tom Gangora, was like, you need one of these roles to be a Broadway name. And we had cast a Broadway person in 2019, married Paige Nance, because she had gotten another gig, which of course didn't happen. But we didn't have a, crystal ball at that time. But she couldn't have done it now. She was in the Neil Diamond show. So anyway, Tom was like, you should cast Maggie, who we worked with in The Marvelous Wondress. And so we met with her and we were like, oh, she is totally this role. So it was just a lot of different pieces, and all four of them came from such different directions. They said it was 2014, 2015, 2019, 2020.
That's awesome. And really exciting about all those people.
Yeah.
And on that topic of Maggie, I'll say it now. Next week's guest I'm excited to announce is Maggie Mcdowell. Very excited to have her today. She'll be here next week, and I'll tell the story now, but I'll tell it again next week. It's so funny. So when I saw her at the show last week, her mother was there.
Oh yes, her mom
And about a
and her
month,
aunt.
I guess it was 2 months ago, I was seeing Funny Girl, and I was, after the show, and I was getting a selfie up against the artwork. It was no longer there, just being up, but I was getting a selfie with Ramin's caricature that they had of, the cartoon drawing. I was getting a selfie, and I think it was her mom was like, oh, do you want us to take a picture? I said, oh, sure. So she took the picture, and I said, I'll return the favor. And we got chatting, and her mother, being the doll that she was, started talking about Maggie and all this stuff. Anyway, it was just a fluid thing. It was like, it's so funny. And, she was saying, oh, she's at Broadway, etc. And then fast forward, I saw her at Broadway Con, Maggie at Broadway Con. I was like, oh my God, do you remember me? What a small world. Then I saw her at Love Quirks, and her mother just happened to be in the same performance.
Yeah,
it was. You talk about really true. It's a small world. It's very, very funny. So
the cast is phenomenal. They're all wonderful people too, which
they are.
We don't get to say that all the
well,
time.
that's.
They are wonderful people, and I love them all very much.
And that's what you need in a cast, and that's really important. So you published your first memoir, Sleep Right Now.
Oh boy, yes.
And Write with a W in 2015. What made you decide to write this and then write the other in 2018?
Oh my gosh, I didn't know I was going to be asked about my books. So
this is about you.
What happened was I had this terrible breakup at the end of 2011, beginning of 2012, and it just threw me off my rocker, and I basically didn't sleep for most of 2012, and it took me all of 2013 to get back on track, so that it was just a terrible year. And I was taking a lot of notes during the year and keeping a journal, and I tried like all this different kinds of medication and therapy. And then after the breakup, I had 2 grandparents die within 2 weeks of each other. That's July. And then my sister got married and moved to Nashville for 2 years, although at the time we didn't know she was only leaving for 2 years. There was just so much change, and I thought I was getting my footing back, and then I had all 4 of my grandparents until I was like 33, which was wonderful. But then losing 2 of them so close together, it was a really tough year. I ended up turning it into a cabaret act. If Adele Could Do It So Can I, An Evening of Sorrow, which is all, and I didn't even write that many songs. I just started setting, like I said, an Edgar Allan Poe poem, which is really probably one of my best classical pieces. It's a hard song. And I said I like poetry, and I said it's Shakespeare's on it. But I was just doing whatever I could to stay above water, and I found the most helpful advice I had was from my friends who were like 10 years older than me, and even a couple who were my age and younger. And I found that a lot of people I knew had gone through like a dark year in their 30s that they just never talked about. And I had no idea people were hurting like that. When some people hurt, they internalize. I externalize everything all the time. Just ask my wife. But I was like, I needed to do something with all that. So we ended up, I won the MIT Mystery Hunt, which was a huge big deal in 2013 that helped me feel better. And we ran that in 2014. And then Brian had gotten an opportunity for us to be at the Electric Theater with that reading, and then we did that 3-week run that we did a Kickstarter all summer. And then in October 2014, I had gone through this whole rebirth of Love Quirks after thinking the show was dead, and I was in such a post-show depression that I was like, I thought I had gotten through all my depression and it was back again, and I was like, I have to figure out what the hell is going on in my brain. So I took all of my journal entries and I had this like 2 yellow pads filled with like ramblings of a madman from when I wasn't sleeping. I would sleep sometimes only 45 minutes a night, and I would just be scrawling all night like a crazy person. And I put it all in a book, and that actually I wrote the whole book in 8 days. It was mostly transcribing stuff. I took everything I had and I just transcribed it all, put it in order, and then I just kind of commented on it. And it was a big exploration of why mentally I had gotten to that point, and all my baggage from the first 30 whatever years of my life, it just built to the point where this one breakup, even though I only dated her for 4 months, it like lit the spark that exploded my entire soul. And I realized that people need to know about this because it is not something that they talk about. Actually, our house manager, Sarah, said after the show of Love Quirks, a woman came up to her and said it was about all these things that people go through they don't talk about. Well, I do fucking talk about it. I talk about everything. Unfortunately, it gets me into trouble a lot of times, but I do. And so I thought I need to just do this for me. And I wrote the whole book in 8 days, and I self-published it. And I actually have had emails from people, emails plural, I think it's 2, from random strangers that this book meant to them so much. And like one of my friends was having trouble conceiving, and she had this depression. So it's like it's not always brought on by death or loss. She was having so much trouble conceiving, and spoiler alert, she did have a son. But she said that all the shit they were giving her in the hospital and telling her was not as helpful as reading my book, because she felt that I was talking about things that she was actually going through, and it really helped her. And I, as I said, I had that one guy wrote me that it really helped him, and he was sending it to his friend who was going through something. So it's just people don't talk about that. But after I wrote that one, I was like, shit, this book's not funny, and my brand is more funnier than that. So that's why I wrote the second book, Every Page a Little Seth, which is based on the 30 episodes of my web series, which was about being in my 30s and single. And so I wrote that book, and then we turned the web series into a sitcom pilot. And then with the sitcom pilot, in the sitcom pilot, I had a line that was like, millennials are ruining the world. And that was like, that's clearly the title of my third book. And that one is just me being exasperated at people younger than me. And as I say in the book, I was like, I realize that I'm old now because I'm one of those people who's like, goddamn this generation and their smartphones, which I fucking hate. Which is the whole point of my sitcom pilot, Every Day a Little Seth, is I hate smartphones. But
I love it.
You know, yeah. So that's, and then that became the theme for my podcast too. Even though my podcast is very eclectic. But it's like millennials are like, no offense, they have no fucking sense of humor. So they're like, I don't want to listen to your podcast because it's insulting us. And I'm like, no, it's a joke. It's like hyperbole. And so I added a question mark for the podcast. Just so they know it's a discussion. It's an exennial perspective, bridging the gap between generations X and Y. I'm not woke, but I'm awake.
Yes, I saw that.
That's the catch.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing all of that and for opening up with all of that. That's it's beautiful, and I hope people check out your memoir and check out the podcast as well. I'm excited to. In fact, I'm excited to take a listen to that because it actually sounds really exciting. And,
it's like 46 episodes
I
now.
always love a good podcast.
Oh, I am turning the journey of Love Quirks into a book too.
Oh, really?
Called The Making of a Musical.
Oh, amazing.
Which I plan to write this fall. I might actually try to get it actually published, but then when that doesn't happen, I'll give up and self-publish.
All right, fabulous, fabulous. Well, let's do some more trivia. I have
Yes.
some more things to get out. And we're going to do the hat, the Dear Evan Hansen hat and gloves as a set because, you know, we need matching hat and gloves. So here we go with the trivia question. Let's see. What theater is Love Quirks currently playing at? What is the name of the theater that Love Quirks is currently playing at?
The AMT Theater.
AMT, yes! Congrats! Congrats! Nice and warm,
You were
especially
paying attention.
especially being upstate, you'll need those.
Thank you.
Nice and warm. And Dear Evan Hansen merch, exciting. And thank you again to Situation Interactive for our sponsor. Alrighty, another question here. Who was the witch in the Into the Woods revival in 2002? No, she's currently on Broadway.
Vanessa Williams.
Vanessa Williams, yes, congratulations. Here we go. This is the Peter and Star Catcher button pin. Fabulous. And for the last shebang, we have these Lights of Broadway playing cards. So they have all the fun Lights of Broadway characters on here. If anyone knows Squigs, by the way, Squigs would love you to come to the show and draw me because that's been a bucket list of mine. So I'm available. Please draw me. And they have all of the characters on here and their playing cards. So this final question is, which Tony Award winner has the most, which actress has the most Tony Awards in history currently?
Audrey McDowell.
Audrey McDowell, yes! She's got 6. Here you go, my love.
Congratulations.
Round of applause, everyone, for all of those. Yes, thank you.
I knew all the answers, but my wife just told me to stop getting random stuff. She's like, stop it. She's a minimalist.
I love it. Oh,
She's like, please stop bringing home random chocolate.
oh my God. I need people like that in my life.
Just for the record, I knew every answer.
Well, and I was just saying, you're welcome to play if you play. But I love it. Well, thank you. I need a minimalist person in my life. So, finally, what does Love Quirks mean to you in this whole process of doing Love Quirks?
Oh God, this is where I cry. It's been such a long journey. The pandemic it just stopped all of our momentum, and just to be back is nothing short of a miracle. It is so many things had fallen in place for this, and Mark and Brian and I are literally producing the show ourselves because we love it that much. But I cannot wish producing a musical on my worst enemy. It has been it's been a lot. It's been a lot, and we are just so grateful that we have gotten to open the show off Broadway, and the reviews were amazing. That one that called us the Millennial Company Meets Friends. The Peter Pizzazz guy said it's just as witty as Company, and I promised I didn't write that review. And I was like, this is why we're doing it, you know? And so I sit there and listen, you know, I'm so happy we added the drums and the cello, and just listening to the orchestrations every night and the cast and their beautiful voices. And, you know, we lost our stage manager today. He didn't die, he got a better gig, but this was his last show. And Brett was such a wonderful person to be involved in the show, and just the whole team. We've all been together for so long, some of us for, you know, decades at this point. And just knowing we did this, you know, it's like when they say at the end of X-Files, you know, I made this or we made this. That's what I feel like I did this, that all these people were brought together. You know, our assistant stage manager is dating our sub-drummer, so there was a little Love Quirks story there. And, you know, actually from my Fringe show, my second Fringe show, there's a couple that got married, they're still together, so I take credit for that too. And it's just knowing how much the show has meant to people, to the audiences. Everyone comes out and is like, this show was so great, except, you know, for a few people, but we won't mention them. And I just knowing it's really touched people, and you relate to it, and because it's so much of myself, especially when we get to those emotional songs like I Saw You Tonight, and Darling I Love You, and Who Knows Why, and You Can't Choose Who You Love, and In Love. Those are all based on different women that didn't like me. And it's just knowing that something has come from all that pain. It's very cathartic, as Nat was saying. And it's just really, we are so happy that we pulled it off and exhausted, and it'll be really nice when it closes, but also terribly sad. And hopefully we'll get the show picked up by a licensing company, and it will have a long life where other people will produce it, and I can just get paid the royalty, and I can go and get interviewed and question and answer after, and then fly me out around the country and just putting it out there. Do cabarets with the colleges that put on the show. I'm available.
Manifested, and I love
Yeah,
that.
that's my manifesting.
Well, and I hope everyone goes and sees it. They have
Please
a cast,
come.
they have a cast album. They also have merch
It's
show
available
too.
streaming everywhere.
Streaming.
Only 4 weeks left. It went so fast.
Wow. So tell us, okay, what are the Love Quirks handles?
It's at LoveQuirks on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok.
Amazing.
LoveQuirks.com/tickets for the tickets. And you can stream it on Apple Music, Amazon, Spotify, Pandora, YouTube, all of the above. And you can buy the CD at the theater or on princeorland.com.
Amazing.
And we're actually, the CD is published by an actual, CD company.
That's awesome.
Amazing.
And
Lovely 8-page booklet in there.
And what are your social media and website handles?
Oh, good question. At SethBH.com. It's just SethBH.com. SATH, I can't spell my name. SETHBH.com. But the handle spelled out POP. Some people try to read it. At SethBH.com. That's the channel. SethBH.com. SethBH.com.
Well, Seth, thank you so much for
Thank
taking
you,
the time
Rye. That's
today.
my pleasure.
And for being my guest. I'm so excited for what's going to come
I
with the
could
show.
talk for hours about myself.
I love it. We all could. It's great. Well, a round of applause for Seth, everyone. Thank you so much. A round of applause for our sponsors, Being Interactive, the Broadway Makers Marketplace here at Columbus Circle. Make sure you check out the show here every Sunday at 6 p.m. and check out the Broadway Makers Marketplace here at Columbus Circle at the Turnstyle Market Underground. Enter at 57th and 8th Ave, right by the TJ Maxx. You don't want to miss it. Next week's guest I have is Maggie Mcdowell from Love Quirks. She's also been in Kinky Boots on Broadway.
And Disaster.
And Disaster, and so much more. So have a good week, everyone. Take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.